Thank you. Yes, our session is about the drafting department's journey to HyFlex delivery. So in fact, I'm here with the chair of our drafting department here at Johnson County Community College, who worked with all of the faculty in his department to convert all of their courses to HyFlex. So Damon, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, Damon Fearborn. I'm the chair of the drafting department here at Johnson County Community College, as Farrell indicated, and we're going to discuss about 2 years ago our evolution into, as Farrell said, having all our classes in a HyFlex modality, so a student could get a degree online if they choose with our 2-year associate's degree. So,
and I am Farrell Hoy-Janab. I'm director of faculty development here at JCCC. And next to me here is
I'm Ed Lovett. I'm the director for educational technology and distance learning here at the college.
And then Michael Brooks is joining us on Zoom.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I am Director of Assessment, Evaluation, Institutional Outcomes here at the college. I provided support to the team and their great idea.
Yes, it really has been a team effort. So I think Damon's going to share the PowerPoint now so you can see it. And Damon's going to, and Aga's going to talk, and Ed are going to talk a little bit on how this journey began. So
Yep.
Take it away.
yeah, so with COVID, we realized that teaching through Zoom was possible, and it functioned fairly well at that time, even though we had to do that quickly turnaround. But after we came back to campus full time, there was still a need from students to access videos, recorded videos for class. They enjoyed that from COVID. And so we started talking in the drafting program about, hey, wouldn't it be great if there was a modality that allowed a student to choose the way they wanted to get content for class, either online, either face-to-face in class or through Zoom, and that they could even flow between those modes however they needed to for their schedule. Because we have many non-traditional students in our program, they're working, they have families working full-time, and coming to campus for a face-to-face class was not always conducive to what they needed at that time. And so I reached out to Ed and Farrell and said, hey, this is what this is what I've envisioned. And Ed said, well, yeah, that's called HyFlex. And I said, well, what do you mean HyFlex? And they expanded on that. And I said, well, that is exactly what we have been talking about in the drafting program. And we decided to go forward with that. And we're going to talk about some of the implementation issues with that.
So Damon kind of covered this, but why HyFlex? Well, we know that we need more flexibility for students. They're juggling lots of different things. The world has changed a lot in education. And also just that I think Damon can speak to the need for equity in technical education, like why it's important for drafting is to me, seems like a discipline that would be hard to teach online. So.
Yeah, so that was one of the things we talked about too in our program was, okay, HyFlex is interesting. It does allow everything for the student that we envisioned, but can we then transition our curriculum into that and still have the quality curriculum that we had in our face-to-face classes? And through trial and error, and we're still learning on that and still doing new things with that, but we felt as a program that we could do that and transition into HyFlex and not lose any of the hands-on things that we were doing in class at that time. Of course, we had to change some of the hands-on things, the lab things in class that we did. We modified those and changed those so it was equitable to everybody, online, Zoom, or face-to-face. But it's a learning experience, definitely.
Next slide is core HyFlex principles. Probably everybody here is familiar with those. Maybe we should skip this slide, and since we have less time than we thought, and actually go in. And if anytime anybody has questions, we would love to hear them, and we want to learn from you in this situation. So I think we'll get into more about how the process of how we did it. So you want to talk about the curriculum redesign?
Yeah, so again, based on that curriculum, I worked with Ed and Farrell and Michael even to gather some data from students, and we worked on, so basically it's an online class. You start with that premise, HyFlex, at least we did. It's an online class first, and then you have Zoom and a face-to-face component potentially if a student chooses to do that. So that's where our focus was turning our face-to-face curriculum into an online curriculum. We also felt in the program that we wanted to decrease a student's learning with Canvas. We use Canvas at Johnson County Community College for our online management system. And so we wanted to decrease their learning with the system. So we came up with a same homepage, same interface through Canvas, same basic course structure. Of course, the instructor puts the assessments and things of that nature in there that they want, but it's the same navigation to the students. So we developed that with the EdTech Center and went to faculty development through Farrell. She was kind enough to send us those opportunities that we did. We worked with Michael on assessment planning to gather data, and we're still doing all of this.
And we created a faculty learning community, so all the faculty on campus who are interested in this new modality could, learn about it together. And we did participate in a training with Dr. Beatty early on too,
Yep.
so.
And Michael, you want to talk real quick about the student feedback we gathered, or do?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I could talk a little bit about, since we're not quite there, but I'll talk about why we wanted to be deliberate to collect the feedback, right? So in our design thinking, we knew we had some hurdles we were facing with some of the deans, maybe some skepticism, things of that nature. And I was new to the institution at the time. So the idea was, well, let's use this as a project. Let's make it very specific, have an outline, have some design elements related to, let's collect some student perceptions about how well the course is delivered. Does it actually address some of the things we just talked about regarding juggling work, family, education, access, things of that nature? And so instead of just launching into a new effort, right, we took our time, we slowed down, we said at the end of some consecutive semesters, 3, let's gather some feedback data from the students, see how they like certain course elements, see what landed, what didn't land. And, that little bit of planning, thinking ahead, setting it up, staging it with other partners on campus really provided to us a set of information that confirmed a lot of things that we believed were true and brought some unique insights, at least things we wouldn't necessarily have predicted from our perspective and our understanding of HyFlex. So that assessment planning piece was crucial, not just because I was leading it, but I think it was because it grounded some of the takeaways in genuine feedback from the students.
Thanks, yeah, and so, we wanted to know the students, and we did encounter a few hurdles along the way. Institutional resistance, I think we had to go through quite a bit to get permission to do this. We had to meet with the Dean's Council, they were pretty skeptical. Ended up letting us do a trial. That's one reason why we wanted to collect data on this. And then they created a new they actually officially created it as a new modality first within our course catalog. So got past some of those barriers. And then there were some workload concerns, I think, probably with your faculty, Damon.
Yeah, I think the workload concerns were, it's definitely not easier. It definitely takes more involvement from the instructor to do something like this. You have to manage more things in class with students attending in class or through Zoom, and then remember to post your online content for those getting content that way. So it definitely, increased the workload as far as preparing for class and generating the class. Grading and all of that stuff was still the same workload. But again, we asked ourselves in the drafting program, what is the best benefit for our students to achieve our degree in a way that worked for them so that they can be successful? And we came back to HyFlex, and that's what we decided upon. And so it was work that was, we were willing to do.
And of course, there's technology is required for HyFlex HyFlex delivery, and Ed, do you want to talk a little bit about?
Well, I think that we're all teachers, and so we understand that anytime you go into any classroom, you're gonna have technical issues regardless of what the mode is that you're teaching. So we tried to make sure that we always had plan Bs in place, that if there was something that wasn't quite working, that we knew how to switch into even using a phone if you had to. I think the other thing was making sure that the faculty teaching in these spaces were comfortable with it. I think the fact that we were coming out of the COVID, the pandemic environment, faculty were much more comfortable using Zoom. And so that was something that I guess was a benefit in some ways. And then also classrooms, we did use some of the money from the pandemic to actually put a lot of technology in numerous classrooms. We call them remote ready. And so we've been able to kind of beef up some of our classrooms that we have here on campus and make sure faculty are comfortable with that.
We are actually sitting in one of those classrooms. This is the classroom Damon teaches in, I think.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I will add on what Ed said real quick, the plan Bs. Going into this, we were working with Ed Tech and very adamant that, you know, that the technology has to work. Otherwise it's, you know, not going to work for the student and going to be very frustrating for the students. So we have, again, we're very fortunate to have the camera you're viewing us on now. It's a point to zoom type of camera. Please jump in if I'm mispronouncing anything. And we have an in-ceiling mic that is a very good microphone because audio was very important for those attending through Zoom or online. But we also have a backup webcam that's just plug and play that always works, that sometimes the point to zoom camera doesn't work. And so we can always go back to the just web camera on top of the monitor. And we have a very nice, from COVID, we have a very nice just desktop speaker and mic that always works. It's just USB plug and play. So we keep those, even though we do have the nice technology you're viewing and hearing us now on. We definitely were adamant on keeping a plan B.
Okay, we are getting a little short on time. Maybe go back, and do you just want to talk a little bit more, Damon, about how it's affected your students, just from your experience?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of just talking to students in my classes, and through our program, I get to know students. It's a 2-year program, obviously. I see them in their first class, and I see them in their last class, and then classes throughout. So I get to know them fairly well. And I've always asked them how they like this, and they have numerous times said, I could not complete the program without this HyFlex option. It allows me the flexibility to do what I need to do with my life and school. And so I get reaffirmation numerous times a semester that this is beneficial for the students. We have students that, even though they can flow between modes, as HyFlex indicates, some of them just come face to face. Some of them jump on Zoom every time, and some of them are online only every time. We've found that very few of them flow between the modes, as HyFlex gives you the ability to do, but almost, as the assessment we gathered with Michael's help show also, almost a large majority of them indicate that HyFlex is beneficial to them getting their degree. And that's really why we did this in the beginning, and it continues to, you know, affirm that.
Do next slide. So we've got about a minute left. I think now I'd like it if Michael could talk a little bit about what we learned from this. So we heard what Damon has observed, what the students were saying about it. Michael, if you wanted to.
Yeah, just some really high points. Students did find it, again, confirmed probably general findings about HyFlex offerings. They did find that they loved the flexibility. They found it was very helpful. One of the interesting takeaways that I don't think we would have predicted was how many students wanted those recordings to be able to rewatch. They had attended the course in one of the ways available to them, but but then relayed to us that they also went back to, whether they were face to face or not, went back to the recordings for follow-up. And time again, just, hey, I know this was said, I didn't catch it in my notes, but that recording that's in our Canvas show was so vital. That was crucial. It was consistent in the data. one of the big takeaways for us, almost to the point to where we've talked among ourselves, why can't we just record all our lectures? But we're blowing up the world then if we suggest something like that. Some of the hurdles that we found also too from the students' feedback was some inconsistency and what our instructors thought HyFlex were. For instance, they would show up to empty classrooms because the instructor had pivoted just to the Zoom. And so that was interesting to find out. So instructor training and support, some standardization of materials, the exam flexibility. This was another interesting piece of feedback from students where they were being told they had to come to campus to take the exam. And so all of those kind of elements we took and digested them with our HyFlex instructor group and talked through those issues. So a couple high points of the good, some of the stuff to where we can definitely still improve.
Right, and would like to take some questions right now. We had a slide here for looking forward and trying to kind of a blueprint for technical programs that we are interested in hearing about anyone else's experiences. And I will just add that one of the ways we were able to get permission to do this from the institution was that I could align it to the strategic goals of the strategic plan. So HyFlex is very good in that way. So any questions?
First of all, thank you so much for this great work. And I think you've illustrated how helpful it is to have a team working on such a project.
Yes, collaboration is
And the
key.
importance of assessment.
Couple things in the chat. Yep. That was a big issue.
Read the question.
So getting the modality correctly classified in our banner system was a huge challenge. That's what we talked about as well. It was for us too. Because again, we had online, we had hybrid, we had face-to-face modalities, we had all the different modalities. But as our program, we didn't want to just have an online class. We didn't want to just have a hybrid class. Some instructors on campus were doing HyFlex. They would offer it as a hybrid class, but then the first day of class communicating to students that it would be run this way. But again, we didn't want to do that in drafting. We wanted the students to see when they enrolled in the class what their options would be, and hopefully they would be able to take the class because of that. So, yep. We are encountering challenges in the student evaluation piece when the learning design component, learning activities are not the same across the modules being evaluated. So Brett, did you mean online, face-to-face and Zoom?
Yeah, I just mean that like the individual design components, the way in which the teacher is building the learning is not consistent in every HyFlex module. I mean, and we don't make it mandatory for them to do this, that, and the other thing. Our development program encourages them, and we use this flipped model. So the live synchronous session is topped and tailed with pre-sessional activities and post-sessional tasks. However, we don't have any way of being, well, apart from a manual way of going in and analyzing the exact breakdown of activities. And so therefore, it was really in a comment to Michael about the trickiness of student evaluation, because you're asking them things about their HyFlex experience, but nobody's experiencing it the same way. Some teachers are doing a lot of interactive group work, for example, and therefore, and they're doing it with all the pillars of the father, as he was described as. So they're getting potentially getting a really, really nice HyFlex experience versus others where there's some lip service to HyFlex principles because maybe that teacher is a little bit further behind in their understanding of, or it's only the first time they've given it a go. So it's just the trickiness of evaluation when you're using, say, a consistent evaluation tool across multiple modules. It's quite challenging.
Great point. And I think one advantage of having the whole department do it together.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, Brad, that's a great point, and that's where we have a great ed tech staff, a great faculty development staff, and great coworkers in the department that we
Yeah.
set forth a standard for our courses
Yeah.
and said
Right.
we want each course to have this. And the
Yeah.
same interface, the same. So what we do for the online content mostly 90% of the time is record our live lecture and post that.
Yeah. Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
Some courses have additional video content as well, but most of the time we're just recording our live lecture and posting it. But we have come up with a structure in Canvas through EdTech, and we're still learning on it to try and keep that similar for the students' experience.
And you're right.
Okay.
The
I know
live class,
I'll
though,
just add that we did find in the survey that faculty who maybe weren't in this department did not have a complete understanding of HyFlex delivery. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you. And we do need to move on to our next session. I hate to be the bad guy and cut off conversation, but welcome to our next talk, evaluation of the equivalency in HyFlex group discussions. So take it away.
Thank